The original idea for that song, Rent I Pay, was I heard this Toots and the Maytals song called I Shall Be Free. It had a bass line that was sort of a walking bass line. And I just thought it was one of those, okay, I have a concept. I'm going to write a song quick as I can kind of ideas. And the concept was start with this 6/8 waltz walking bass line. And I had the lyric Rent I Pay that I'd had sitting around forever. And it was just like, use that bass line, write a new song. And I came up with something really fast and probably happened in about 30 minutes. But yeah, it's pretty different from what you hear on the record. Yeah, well, we actually tried it like that. We tried it with the 6/8 waltz version, and we when we had that first rehearsal where Alex came in for the first time, we played a band version of what I'd done on the demo, and it was all right. It was kind of definitely more of a soul thing, and something about it reminded me of what we were playing. Reminded me of One Man's Ceiling is Another Man's Floor by Paul Simon, and so then we played that, and then we just never came back to it. It wasn't decided like it was good or bad. We moved on to other things, and we never thought about it again. And then so half a year later, most of the album had been recorded, and we were by now working with Friedman at his studio. And I think we were working on Inside Out in Friedman's main room. And while he was programming beats, I was literally in the back room at his studio trying to write one more song for the record.
Rent I Pay was a fun one to kind of discover for me, because the way that Dave's is kind of laid out is there's the main studio and there's a hallway, and then there's kind of the second studio, the B studio. And a lot of the time while we were working in this A studio, Britt would be in the B studio kind of working on vocals and stuff like that. I didn't even really know Rent I Pay was a song until I heard like basically the majority of the recorded version of it, which was really, really cool. Like, what have you been doing back there? So he brought Rent I Pay in after working on it for however long, and then we started working on it, and it was pretty flushed out at that point. I think we just like added organ and piano maybe, and like Dave did some of his tricks, Dave trickery. But yeah, that was a nice surprise.
I looked at what songs were on the record, and I was like, what this needs is sort of a slow, heavy rock song. That's what this record needs. And I think I got on that kick because I'd heard Joan Jett on the radio. I love rock and roll, and I always loved that song. And I tried to write a entirely new song, I think, in that vein, but I also went back through some of the old songs we worked on. It's like, oh yeah, there's this one, Rent I Pay. Oh wait, it's a different time signature, but I saw if I could convert it, and somehow it worked. And then I just wrote, sort of this new version of the song sitting back there in the back room at Friedman's studio while everyone else was in the front working on Inside Out.
I do remember that this song was probably recorded one of the last tunes. The drum sound was just ridiculous, It's just, he puts up a bunch of mics, I start playing, and then you go in the control room and it sounds like, the snare is a cannon. And it's just like, yeah, that sounds pretty great from the get-go. So I remember that pretty sure that maybe me and Britt got together to work on a little bit of the feel and the drum part and stuff. And, not to get too nerdy, but I felt like, so on Rent I Pay, I play it open-handed, meaning I play my hi-hat with the left hand, and anytime there's a kick drum, I play the floor tom. And so it's like boom, boom, chang, and I'm hitting the floor tom with the kick. And I feel like that was something that I stumbled upon that was really helping with the toughness and the impact of that drum track. And Dave really leaned into that kind of approach.
And it has that Friedman sound, that, just like blown out drum sound from the top, which is such a great way to start the record.
I've been losing sleep, and I'm not in sleep.
I do feel like the way it starts with the snare drum being like a cannon was sort of cool, as like, hey, you haven't heard Spoon in a few years, and this is the first thing that you hear from us is like a big rock tune.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I forgot that was the first song that anybody heard off of this record. We felt pretty good about it. You know, that was one of those songs that when we would get done working at the end of the day at Friedman's studio and we'd take the drive about 20, 30 minutes into town to go have a drink, we would be blasting that one over and over again in the car on the way there. You know, it definitely felt good. We knew that was working.